Welcome to Denver Public Library's Fall Book Buzz 2023. My name is Erin Sladen, and I'm a librarian at Central. And we will be talking about 28 new and forthcoming books that we can't wait for you to read or listen to.
And I'm Dodie Onis, and I'm also a librarian at Denver Public Library. And I just want to give everyone a quick reminder of all the services that we have available for you, including personalized reading lists, craft activities, and author events. You can sign up for our newsletters at denverlibrary.org/newsletters to stay up on everything going on at our branches and beyond. And now for the books.
Our first book today is the beautiful poetry anthology, Leaning Toward Light, Poems for Gardens in the Hands That Tend Them, edited by Tess Taylor, which offers a warm, inviting selection of poems from a wide range of voices that speak to the collective urge to grow, tend, and heal, an evocative celebration of our connection to the green world. Much like reading a good poem, caring for plants brings comfort, solace, and joy to many. In this new poetry anthology, Leaning Toward Light, acclaimed poet and avid gardener Tess Taylor brings together a diverse range of contemporary voices to offer poems that celebrate the joyful connection to the natural world. Several of the most well-known contemporary writers, as well as some of poetry's exciting rising stars, contribute to the collection, including Ross Gay, Naomi Shihab Nye, Garrett Hongo, Ellen Bass, and James Cruz, just to name a few. This is a loving tribute to the natural world and a recognition of the profound need for the human spirit to be connected to the gardens of the world if we are to thrive. The artwork and recipes makes this gathering of poems even more delicious.
Imagine a world in which anyone with a $20,000 desktop DNA synthesizer could develop and unleash a deadly virus. Imagine an undetectable deepfake video of a US president making a racial slur racing across the internet on the eve of an election. Imagine terrorists or paramilitaries stockpiling autonomous weapons designed to make their own decisions about when to engage. The Coming Wave, Technology Power in the 21st Century's Greatest Dilemma is a groundbreaking new book from AI entrepreneur Mustafa Suleyman, and a must-read guide to the technological revolution just starting in the transformed world it will create. In it, Suleyman establishes the containment problem, the task of maintaining control over powerful technologies, as the essential challenge of our age. As Suleyman explains, generative AI, synthetic biology, robotics, and other innovations are improving and spreading rapidly. They bring great benefits, but also real and growing risk. The author is wise enough to know that there's no simple three-point plan for managing these risks, and brave enough to tell us so.
Kirkus Reviews calls Nina Simon's debut, Mother-Daughter Murder Night, Nancy Drew Meets Columbo. This feisty, female-driven whodunit is a darkly comedic murder mystery starring 3 generations of the Rubicon family. Lana Rubicon is the estranged matriarch of the family, an LA real estate scion who rules her life with an iron fist, a life that comes crashing down around her when she is diagnosed with cancer and must move in with her daughter, a nurse. Beth Rubicon is the middle-aged daughter who escaped Lana at 17 to raise her own daughter, Jack. As they start to settle into this new configuration, Lana confesses that she saw a person with a wheelbarrow dumping a body into the slough behind their home, but police officers aren't taking her seriously and focus on interrogating Jack, who found the body. After sitting in as a witness while Jack is questioned by the police, Lana decides it's up to her to solve the case. Much to Beth's chagrin, Jack is more than willing to help her grandmother, so Beth is almost immediately roped in too. The women interview most of the suspects surrounding the murder, investigate the areas where the murder might have occurred, and crash funerals to get more information. Together, Lana, Beth, and Jack will form an unlikely allegiance to delve into two local deaths, staying one step ahead of the murderer while sniffing out illicit grow operations, complicated land trust negotiations, and the bumbling attention of one kayak shack owner.
Author Meg Kissinger grew up in a family of 8, a ragtag bunch of kids in a loving home, but she also grew up hiding a secret. Both of her parents were mentally ill, and nobody was talking about it. From her mother disappearing from the home for periods of time to siblings struggling with depression and delusion, it was loving but chaotic. While You Were Out, an intimate family portrait of mental illness in an era of silence, is her memoir of that time, a loving, honest portrait of a family in free fall and the experiences that led her to writing about mental health in her work as a journalist, exposing the conditions in mental health institutions. Readers are invited into the sweet child's heart of the author and see her as an overwhelmed child and how the constant drama and the amount of siblings made being seen and heard impossible. There's not a lot of blame in the book. It's more constructive and forgiving, but does point out how the social climate placed a lot of shame and pressure on families. Kissinger identifies endemic problems in dealing with mentally ill individuals, including housing, social support, medical treatment, and hospitalization. Combining the intimacy of a memoir with the rigor of investigative reporting, the book explores the consequences of shame, the havoc of botched public policy, and the hope offered by new treatment strategies.
Lauren Groff's The Vaster Wilds tells the story of a girl with no name. Well, not exactly true, but you'll see. Surviving the wilderness after running away, looking for something better. Plucked from a poor house to serve as a maid to a minister, his wife, and young disabled child, she has come from England to the colonies, presumably Jamestown, Virginia, only to find starvation and death among the people, sadness over the loss of her charge, and disappointment in her mistress. After enduring one horrific thing after another, and emboldened by her faith in God, she escapes into the unknown wilds, where she finds less to fear from the indigenous people encountered than expected. She flees with a few key possessions, hoping to find her way north to the French settlements. What follows is a sort of tone poem of her journey as she leaves civilization and the world of men behind and merges into the natural wilderness. During the journey, events of her past present themselves in clear and precise visions, offering the reader the opportunity to better understand what made Lamentations, there we said it, the woman she has become. Dodie, you're muted.
Pockets, an intimate history of how we keep things close, is a thought-provoking microhistory of the humble pocket that uncovers what pockets reveal about us and why it matters. It's a subject that stirs up plenty of passion. Why do men's clothes have so many pockets and women's so few? In her captivating book, author Hannah Carlson, a lecturer in dress history at the Rhode Island School of Design, shows us how we tuck gender politics, security, sexuality, and privilege inside our pockets. Throughout the medieval era in Europe, the purse was an almost universal dress feature carried by men and women alike. But when tailors stitched the first pockets into men's trousers 500 years ago, it ignited controversy and introduced a range of social issues that we continue to wrestle with today, from concealed pistols to gender inequality, as noted in hashtags like "Give me pockets" or "Give me death." This abundantly illustrated four-color book explains much more than who has pockets and why. How is it that putting your hands in your pockets can be seen as a sign of laziness, arrogance, confidence, or perversion? Walt Whitman's author photograph, hand in pocket for Leaves of Grass, seemed like an affront to middle-class respectability. When W.E.B. Du Bois posed for a portrait, his pocketed hands signaled defiant coolness. A perfect read for the legions of people obsessed with pockets and their absence, and for anyone interested in how our clothes influence the way we navigate the world.
In what has been called the most exciting historical retelling of 2023, a subversive, powerful untelling of Romeo and Juliet, Fair Rosalind by Natasha Solomons imagines Romeo's conquests before Juliet. Flipping everything you thought you knew about star-crossed lovers Romeo and Juliet on its head and drawing from several Rosalinds in Shakespeare's work, Solomons recasts Romeo as a serial predator and groomer of young girls, a trait that's actually present in the original tragic play. The first time Romeo Montague sees young Rosalind Capulet, he falls instantly in love. Rosalind, headstrong and independent, is unsure of Romeo's attentions, but with her father determined that she join a convent, this handsome and charming stranger offers her the chance of a different life. Soon, though, Rosalind begins to doubt all that Romeo has told her. She breaks off the match, only for Romeo's gaze to turn towards her cousin, 13-year-old Juliet. Gradually, Rosalind realizes that it is not only Juliet's reputation at stake, but her life. This is a subversive, powerful untelling of Shakespeare's best-known tale, narrated by a fierce, forgotten voice. This is Rosalind's story, and it begs readers to ask, was Romeo and Juliet the greatest ever love story a lie?
In For the Culture, Phenomenal Black Women and Femmes in Food, Clancy Miller interviews 66 Black women and femmes about their careers in food, and many share recipes as part of their stories. Chef and writer Miller found her own way by trial and error as a pastry chef, recipe developer, author, and founder of For the Culture magazine. But what if she had known then what she knows now? What if she had known the extraordinary women profiled within these pages? Entrepreneurs, chefs, food stylists, mixologists, historians, influencers, hoteliers, and more, and learned from their stories. People like Leah Penniman, a farmer using Afro-Indigenous methods to restore the land and feed her community, or Ashton Berry, an activist, sommelier, and mixologist creating radical change in the hospitality industry and beyond, or Sophia Rowe, a TV host and producer showcasing the inside stories behind today's food systems and more. In this gorgeous volume, these luminaries and more share the vision that drives them, the mistakes they made along the way, advice for the next generation, and treasured recipes, all accompanied by stunning, original illustrated portraits and vibrant food photography.
Night Watch is the latest offering from author Jane Ann Phillips, which takes place in 1874 in the wake of the war, when trauma haunts civilians and veterans, renegades and wanderers, freedmen and runaways. 12-year-old Connolly and her mother, Eliza, who hasn't spoken in more than a year, arrive at the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum in West Virginia, delivered to the hospital's entrance by a war veteran who has forced himself into their lives. There, far from family, a beloved neighbor, and the mountain home they knew, they try to reclaim their lives. The twin horrors of war and race rise to the surface as we learn their history. Their flight to the highest mountain ridges of Western Virginia, the disappearance of Connolly's father, who left for the war and never returned. Meanwhile, in the asylum, they begin to find a new path. Connolly pretends to be her mother's maid. Eliza responds slowly to treatment. They get swept up in the life of the facility, the mystery behind the man they call the Night Watch, the child called Weed, the fearsome woman who runs the kitchen, the remarkable doctor at the head of the institution. Epic, enthralling, and meticulously crafted, Night Watch is a brilliant portrait of family endurance against all odds and a stunning chronicle of surviving war and its aftermath.
The authors of Vanderbilt, Anderson Cooper and Catherine Howe, return with another riveting history of a legendary American family, Astor, the rise and fall of an American fortune, and how they built and lavished their fortune. The story of the Astors is quintessentially an American story of ambition, invention, destruction, and reinvention. From 1783, when German immigrant John Jacob Astor first arrived in the United States, until 2009, when Brooke Astor's son, Anthony Marshall, was convicted of defrauding his elderly mother, the Astor name occupied a unique place in American society. The family fortune, first made by a beaver trapping business that grew into an empire, was then amplified by holdings in Manhattan real estate. Over the ensuing generations, Astors ruled Gilded Age New York society and inserted themselves into political and cultural life, but also suffered the most famous loss on the Titanic, one of many shocking and unexpected twists in this family story. In this unconventional, page-turning historical biography featuring black and white and color photography, the authors chronicle the lives of the Astors and explore what the Astor name has come to mean in America, offering a window into the making of America itself. Rich people writing about rich people. What a novel idea.
This powerful and emotional story lies in other love languages, deals with strong themes of family, friendship, and asks the question, how far would you go to provide happiness for those you love? Through her beautiful storytelling, author Sonali Dev takes the reader on an exploration of friendship, love, and finding the core of who we are. Vandi Guru, a renowned advice columnist, struggles to conceal her grief after the loss of her husband. When her daughter disappears and her estranged childhood friend Ronnie returns, Vandi's carefully crafted life starts to unravel. Meanwhile, her daughter Malika, an aspiring choreographer, is tired of failure and discovers that her whole life has been a lie. Set in the US and India, it's rich in Indian culture, expectations, and norms, all skillfully crafted into a compelling and hard to put down story. Dev's exploration of love languages adds an intriguing layer to the story. Through her nuanced portrayal of different communication styles and emotional needs, she highlights the challenges and rewards that come with understanding and connecting with others on a deeper level. This theme adds depth and complexity to the relationships depicted throughout the novel.
After a successful career, a 20-year marriage, and raising 2 kids, Mackenzie Wark had a particularly extreme midlife change, coming out as a trans woman. Changing both social role and bodily form revealed her as something strange and different. Her past life became a stranger to her, a past she reclaims here by writing to important figures in her life and addressing the big themes that haunt us all of love, money, sex, and death. This memoir about her childhood in Australia and transitioning later in life is written as a series of direct addresses to the women in her life, from mothers to lovers to herself, as she comes to terms with her gender identity. Love and Money, Sex and Death is a reflection on transition, trans politics and culture, motherhood, and memory, following the author's coming out as a trans woman in midlife, which recast her relation to the world. Combining the deeply personal and political, this is a provocative call to arms that recasts the mold for trans memoirs.
Soul Ties, a Ghetto Love Story by Wujani, is a tale of love, loyalty, and betrayal. True love and loyalty are hard to come by. Chance McKnight and Nina Singleton have just that. Nina, a multifaceted beauty, and Chance, an ambitious hustler, are two lovers from Charlotte, North Carolina, whose souls aligned at a young age. Together, the couple amassed $5 million of dirty money over the years and finally set their sights on beginning a new life in Atlanta. On the day of their move, the couple is ambushed by a foe from their past. Dire circumstances compel Nina to start a new life in Atlanta without Chance by her side. Nina meets a mysterious, handsome stranger, Yasin, who quickly takes an interest in her. A few months later, the same enemy from Nina's past threatens her life, and she is rescued by the person she least expects, Chance. Secrets and lies tear Nina and Chance apart yet again. Nina remains in Atlanta and begins a family of her own, while Chance sets up shop in Miami, where a bigger threat lurks. Years later, Nina shows up on Chance's doorstep with a secret that will not only reunite the two lovers, but also put a target on their backs. Will Chance and Nina be able to escape this web of deceit unscathed? Will their love be able to withstand yet another trying test, or will they watch everything they've built crumble before them?
Land of Milk and Honey by C. Pam Zhang is a delightfully strange read. It opens to a scene where a terrible smog has spread across the world, decimating crops and livestock. Readers follow a woman who's been brought in to interview to be the chef at an exclusive location in the Italian mountains. There, the sky is clear again. Rare ingredients abound. Her enigmatic employer and his visionary daughter have built a lush new life for the global elite, one that reawakens the chef to the pleasures of taste, touch, and her own body. In this atmosphere of hidden wonders and cool, seductive violence, the chef's boundaries undergo a thrilling erosion. Soon she is pushed to the center of a startling attempt to reshape the world far beyond the plate. The narrative offers a certain kind of seduction, infusing experimental evolution within passages that invite meditation, and the lyrical prose perfectly matches the exquisiteness of the recipes. What unfolds is a story about history, family, food, and the questions that need to be asked regarding the importance of individualism versus community in a dystopian future.
Mary Van Ann Eekhout takes the reader to the year 1816 in Colony, Switzerland, near Lake Geneva, in Mary and the Birth of Frankenstein. In Mason Chapus, near Villa Diodati, 18-year-old Mary Shelley lies awake every night. At this witching hour, with her imagination is at its strongest, Mary is reminded of two great losses. Her mother, the feminist Mary Wollstonecraft, who died in childbirth, and her own daughter of cot death. Together with her lover Percy Shelley, their son William, and stepsister Claire, Mary spends the summer with poet Lord Byron and physician John Polidori. However, the summer months are surprisingly rainy that year, and during one heady night, the men decide to organize a creepy story contest. Mary joins in and writes the beginning of what would later become the famous horror story Frankenstein, or the modern Prometheus. The atmosphere is alternately jubilant and exuberant, then melancholic with a dark edge. Eekhout explores how grief, the supernatural, and heartbreak help inspire one of the most important science fiction novels of all time. The author's voice and Watkinson's translation pay a notable homage to the forever iconic, most original goth girl.
A social media expose is at the heart of Yumi Adegoke's The List. Ola Alaji is a successful content writer for an online magazine, and her fiance, Michael, has just got a job making video content for another trendy organization after thankless years running a podcast and doing videos while working in retail. Ola uses social media to bolster their Black super couple persona. Both of them believe they are in their jobs because of diversity policies, and experience the usual microaggressions in their workplaces. 1 month before their lavish wedding, a viral tweet names Michael on the list as one of the many men called out as sexual abusers and predators in the media. Ola, known for breaking similar stories of abusers in power, heartbreakingly battles between her moral compass and her love for Michael. Michael, who strongly denies the allegations, struggles to cope as his world falls apart around him. The final scenes are profoundly cinematic. No surprise, then, that following an 11-way auction for the publishing rights, there was a 17-way battle for the list TV rights, which were eventually snapped up by A24, HBO Max, and the BBC.
Whether you're an experienced baker looking for a cake decorating book to improve the appearance of your bakes, or a novice baker looking for basic dessert recipes, Bake Your Heart Out has something for everyone. Dan Langen's dedication to testing and perfecting the techniques in this pastry book has made it the perfect cookie, bar, pie, and cake cookbook for anyone who wants to learn how to bake like a pro. Readers will find 100 recipes for his game-changing versions of familiar classics, such as red velvet layer cake and creamy lemon chess squares, as well as unique creations like seriously sesame brownies and a ricotta and pistachio cannoli tart. He'll also let you in on the pro secrets that make his bakes better than your usual standbys, like toasting not only nuts, but oats, poppy seeds, and almond flours. Equally invaluable are Dan's tips for helping you produce bakes that look as good as they taste. So your dessert bars have razor-sharp edges and your muffins have gorgeously domed tops. Accompanied by charming photography that's as enticing as the treats themselves, this beautiful and instructive book will become a go-to for bakers, both seasoned and beginner.
Edenville is Sam Rabelin's debut novel, and it's a doozy. When young horror writer Cam Marion is offered a teaching opportunity at a prestigious liberal arts college upstate, his longtime girlfriend Quinn is skeptical. She knows the college is located in Edenville, in infamous Renfield County, the county where people seem to go missing, the county where Quinn's high school best friend was mysteriously killed. Quinn figures the job opportunity is a trap somehow, so she follows Cam upstate to investigate some of the county's mysteries, including her own. She quickly discovers that there's an entire society dedicated to solving Renfield's many riddles, a society that puts on plays dedicated to Renfield's macabre, blood-soaked history, a society that meets in the library basement once a week, a society made up of people who might not be people at all and might be spiders instead. Meanwhile, Cam discovers that his newest story idea isn't an idea so much as it is a vision of another world, a world that the faculty at Edenville College need his help to access before it accesses them. Let's call this Goosebumps meets Stephen King for fans of Paul Tremblay and Stephen Graham Jones.
The Dead Take the A Train is a fast-paced madhouse of mayhem, combining the best of Richard Kadri's thrillers with Cassandra Khaw's gruesome Lovecraftian horror. These two authors are a match made in hell, spawning horrific gods and demons who run amok in the rotten core of the Big Apple. Freelance magic operative Julie Cruz is a coked-up whirlwind of chaos, whose self-destructive tendencies are matched only by the unbridled mayhem she brings to her commissions. As the novel opens, Julie executes an anarchic job at a bachelorette party featuring a possessed bride-to-be who gives new meaning to the word bridezilla. Then Julie's ex, Tyler, a corporate bootlicker, hires her as part of his plan to get promoted by sucking up to his firm's patron, an eldritch horror called the Mother Who Eats. Next, Julie's best friend, Sarah, shows up at her door, the victim of domestic abuse. Now Julie must take on Tyler and his magical investment and law firm, and worse, face her own feelings and failings. A world of invasive demons, technology pantheons, and gruesome monsters holds a mirror up to the cruelness of humanity. But beneath the blood and body horror is a heavily bent but not broken protagonist who will take on the darkest monsters and gods to save those she cares for.
Jean Kwok's The Leftover Woman deeply immerses the reader into the lives of two women from drastically different perspectives, who both wish to claim a child as their own. Jasmine is married young in rural China. She discovers years into her marriage that her husband has given her firstborn daughter away to a family in New York, so she makes her way there to find her lost daughter. Meanwhile, Rebecca, a very wealthy and successful publisher, is dealing with her own career crisis in New York while she balances motherhood and work after recently adopting a baby girl. Their lives intersect while Jasmine's husband goes on the hunt for her, and Rebecca must save her career from imminent implosion. Kwok brings a small Chinese village to life, as well as the dusky and treacherous world of an Asian strip bar, all the while sharing the competitive realm of publishing houses. Focusing around China's once one-child policy, this suspenseful novel intertwines the complications of friendship, adoption, abuse, familial love, sacrifice, motherhood, and growth as it comes to an explosive conclusion.
There are a host of neuroscientific explanations for why laughter makes us feel so great. Laughter triggers feel good chemicals in the brain, which activate opiate receptors throughout your body and mind. Creating a workplace culture in which laughter is not only allowed but expected is an important step in building the trust, openness, authenticity, storytelling, and teamwork, or TOAST, that are essential to any healthy collaborative environment. In The ROI of LOL, How Laughter Breaks Down Walls, Drives Compelling Storytelling, and Creates a Healthy Workplace, authors Steve Cody and Clayton Fletcher share hilarious stories and evidence-based insights of turnkey techniques based on stand-up, improv, and sketch comedy to demonstrate the power and desperate need of fusing humor into the workplace to strengthen leaders and organizational outcomes. Readers will learn how to take the experience of doing stand-up into practical training to get the best out of themselves and those around them, developing the skills to forge meaningful relationships with employees, customers, industry leaders, and others who are essential to his company's business, encouraging them to see business as a performance type of interaction. The goal is not developing the ability to tell jokes, but learning how to tell stories, which engages the audience, whether they be potential clients, coworkers, or the board of directors.
Before Eve, there was Lilith. Lilith and Adam are equal and happy in the Garden of Eden, until Adam decides Lilith should submit to his will and lie beneath him. She refuses and is banished forever from paradise. Demonized and sidelined, Lilith watches in fury as God creates Eve, the woman who accepts her submission. But Lilith has a secret. She has already tasted the fruit of the tree of knowledge. Endowed with wisdom, she knows why Asherah, God's wife and equal, the queen of heaven, is missing. Lilith has a plan. She will rescue Eve, find Asherah, restore balance to the world, and regain her rightful place in paradise. Spanning epochs, traveling the globe, transcending human lifespans, Lilith is destined to roam the world in search of the original mother in order to restore harmony. Author Nikki Mamery has gone all in and mirrored modern radical feminist theory through the lens of the book's narrator, Lilith. With a recent spate of titles retelling the Greek myths, this approach to the Old Testament stories promises to be both challenging and refreshing.
Even occasional readers know that Louisa May Alcott wrote Little Women. Few may be aware that she was also a remarkably witty essayist. A Strange Life, selected essays of Louisa May Alcott, collects some of Alcott's nonfiction, which editor Liz Rosenberg calls even more brilliant, or perhaps more consistently brilliant, than her novels and stories. Alcott wrote on a wide range of subjects, including her father's failed utopian commune, the benefits of an unmarried life, and her experience as a young woman sent to work in service to alleviate her family's poverty. Her first literary success was a contemporary close-up account of the American Civil War, brilliantly depicted in hospital sketches, which was drawn from her own experience of serving as an army nurse near the nation's capital. Blending gentle satire with reportage and emotive autobiography, Alcott's exquisite essays are as exceptional as the novels she is known for. Published together for the first time, this delightful selection shows readers another side to one of our most celebrated writers.
American food traditions are in danger of being lost. How do we save them? In Endangered Eating, America's Vanishing Foods, culinary historian Sarah Lohman draws inspiration from the Ark of Taste, a list compiled by Slow Food International that catalogs important regional foods. Lohman travels the country learning about the distinct ingredients at risk of being lost. In this fascinating book, Lohman explores many culinary treasures and traditions, from the true wild rice, menumen, to California runner peanuts, to the dwindling variety of dates in California. Her research gives strong historical context for each item, particularly in their connections to indigenous communities and traditions, and she reveals what is happening now to ensure that these foods will continue to be grown and appreciated. And happily for readers, recipes are included too. Of note, Lohman doesn't hold back on the reality that the majority of endangered foods come from indigenous communities. Far from it, she goes full tilt and provides as much information as possible on the various colonization factors that have pushed these foods to the brink of extinction in the first place. Lohman doesn't reach for easy answers. Instead, she raises awareness of the cultural implications of why these foods were nearly lost and why they are finding new life. Animated by stories, yet grounded in historical research, Endangered Eating gives readers the tools to support community food organizations and producers that work to preserve local culinary traditions and rare, cherished foods before it's too late.
There's already been a lot of chatter about Dan Dorman's West Heart Kill. This debut is clever, almost cunning, wildly innovative, and brilliant. The synopsis tells readers they will meet a detective, there will be a murder, and all will have been there alongside him to solve it. Because it all takes place in a country house full of the wealthy elite during a storm, we think we know exactly what kind of book we're settling into. Of course, this is a closed-room murder mystery. Or is it? Nothing here is what it seems. McDormand plays with language, perspective, tenses, literary structure. Sometimes it's second person. Sometimes we're in the midst of a screenplay. He breaks the fourth wall and brings the reader into the cast of characters, smugly calling attention to that eagerness to play detective. West Heart Kill is a love letter to detective fiction. It's a book for readers who know why Agatha Christie employed poison so often in her mysteries. For readers who can identify the distinct style of reasoning between infamous literary detectives, who know the origin of the term red herring. And if you're not one of those readers, this book just might be the inspiration to dive into the deep end of the mystery genre pool.
The estate of George L. Orwell granted permission for this feminist retelling of 1984, simply titled Julia, 1984. Orwell's estate said it had been looking for some time for an author to tell the story of Smith's lover, and that Sandra Newman, who has previously been longlisted for the Women's Prize and shortlisted for the Guardian First Book Award, proved to be the perfect fit. Much of the setting is the same, but now the story is told through Julia, known only by her first name in Orwell's version, and a foil to the plotline following Winston Smith, who readers may recall as hating the party passionately and testing the limits of its power, committing innumerable crimes throughout the original, including having an illegal love affair with Julia. In Newman's retelling, Julia has actual agency over her story, not just agency of thought, as most oppressed characters tend to have, especially when she lives in such an unsettling place for women. Her power, especially once under the guise of the think police, is one to be reckoned with. The novel captures the same dark, unsettling tone as the original and develops the already complex world of Oceania and beyond, taking readers to nooks and crannies that weren't explored in 1984, but serve to complete the terrifying reality they live in.
Black Punk Now is an anthology of contemporary nonfiction, fiction, illustrations, and comics that collectively describe punk today and give punks, especially the Black ones, a wider frame of reference. Edited by James Spooner and Chris Perry, contributors to the collection include critic Hanif Abdurraqib and cartoonist Reagan Buchanan, conversations with Brontes Purnell, and a roundtable of all film festival organizers. Spooner's contribution includes a comic as well as the interior illustration. It shows all of the strains, styles, and identities of Black punk that are thriving and gives newcomers to the scene more chances to see themselves. Curated from the perspective of Black writers with connections to the world of punk, the collection mixes media as well as generations, creating a new reference point for music lovers, readers, and historians by capturing the present and looking towards the future. With strong visual elements integrated throughout, this smart, intimate collection is demonstrative of punk by being punk itself. Underground, rebellious aesthetic, but not static, working to decenter whiteness by prioritizing other perspectives.
The review journal Kirkus is notorious for not liking anything. What did they say about Kelly and Zach Weinersmith's A City on Mars? Can we settle in space? Should we settle space? And have we really thought this through? Kirkus says, this book is, to put it simply, a romp. The authors contend it will likely take centuries to overcome the logistical challenges, including the development of long-term waste management systems and laws to settle conflicts over sovereignty, posed by establishing a colony on Mars, the moon, or a free-floating space station. In a world hurtling toward human expansion into space, A City on Mars investigates whether the dream of new worlds won't create nightmares, both for settlers and the people they leave behind. In the process, the Weinersmiths answer every question about space you've ever wondered about, and many you've never considered. Can you make babies in space? Should corporations govern space settlements? And what about space war? That's our final book in today's presentation. Erin and I want to thank you for watching. We want to remind everyone that the formats that are listed on the slides are mostly print at this point because ebooks have not arrived yet. These are new and forthcoming titles. So please check the catalog for other formats when you click through to the catalog. Thank you for watching today and have a great fall.